fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Tsukuba circuit for Week 8, Season 4 of the just-ended iRacing series. I'm Lockie Mansell. Joining me in commentary this evening here on the SimSpeed TV network is Ryan Jones. And Ryan, the choice of venue was put out to the drivers this week, so everybody had to vote on which racetrack they wanted to compete at, and it was the Tsukuba circuit that won the popular vote.
Yeah, it did. I personally wanted the Oval to make an appearance, but we get Tsukuba instead. And that means we're going to have a very sharp dash around the circuit. It's a very short place. Not many opportunities for overtaking either. So, going to be a lot of push to pass, I think, today.
However, we are in cars that are renowned for their ability to run side by side for multiple corners in a row, and for their high propensity for overtaking. Yep, we're in the Mazda MX-5 Cup cars this week, and taking pole position is the Victorian driver Glenn Postlethwaite. Joining him on the front row of the grid, Caleb Hydes. Our unofficial championship leader, Job Stewart, goes from third on the grid ahead of Mitch Martin, and then it's Dylan Golson, Jeff Rahali, Michael Gipp, Emerson Harvey, Jordan Ford, and Blake Purdy completing the top 10.
Logan Dockett, James Golding from 12th place. We all know him, Jack Lemon, Cooper Allen, Mitchell McLeod, Josh Haynes, Shorty Sinai, Brock Feeney, partnering up for the first time this year in the main game with James Courtney, Matt Lapino, and Christina Nazarek, your top 20. So two pros on inside that top 20. Well, I guess you could count Cooper Webster in there as well. Don't know where he's starting from, though. In fact, he's not in the field, is he? Ignore me.
Looking a bit further down the order, we could say Lachlan Manapes there, starting just outside the top 20. A bit further down, it will be Ben Bargwana competing tonight. A bit further back, the ever-present John O'Bykoff is in the field as well. And it's a big field of Mazda MX-5 set to do battle here at the Tsukuba circuit. Lights out and away we go. Decent start for our pole sitter, Glenn Postlethwaite. But look at the big switch across there from the number 30 car. 3 wide they go into the first corner, and already contact and a spin there as they negotiate their way through turn 1.
Yeah, that was Postlethwaite. I don't know if he knew they were 3 wide, and they are now piling into that wreck further back in the field. Caleb Hydes got pinched and turned him around. Job Stewart goes from third to first with a fantastic jump. They reckon up in turn 4 as well. As you'd expect, 55 cars trying to get their way through the first couple of turns. As Tsukuba has not gone particularly smoothly, as Emerson Harvey almost rolls it heading into the hairpin.
Job Stewart under a bit of pressure here as well from Jackson Johnston as they head down the back stretch. And it is Stewart who continues to lead them through. It's actually Caleb Hydes, I beg your pardon, who's up there in second position. The timing system just glitching a bit at my end at the moment. But one of the format changes for Just Send It is that safety cars are now a lot more randomised. So whereas previous Just Send It iterations would always have one safety car, now it could be anywhere from 0 up to 2 safety cars, and they could fall at any time. So that has the potential to mix up strategy. There will be a pit stop that everybody's going to have to take at some point in tonight's race as well.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago when that was introduced, we had 0 safety cars. I don't know what we had last week because we had 1 last week, Jay says, as he got lumped in commentary duties because you had to go do some fancy professional stuff and I went missing in action.
Indeed, but good to be back this week, and this is what we were saying about the 2 wide action. These Mazda MX-5s don't produce a huge amount of horsepower, so it's really about keeping the mid-corner speed and keeping the momentum up. And if you make even the slightest mistake, you find yourself losing a lot of momentum and being overtaken, as we say that already there's a couple of cars that are sporting a bit of damage, and we've already got one into the pits. That's Cooper Allen diving in for a pit stop.
Oh, Michael Yip coming out of the pits right in front of Matt Lupino. Christina Nazarick ends up being 3 wide, and he gets hip checked off the racetrack and into the grass on the exit of 1. And that's given Nazarick some momentum to try and lunge up the inside. A little bit of a bump and a push wide, but still on the wrong side of the racetrack now for this right-hander. And here comes McLeod trying to capitalise.
Mitchell McLeod streaming on Twitch as he always does. He's been one of the long-standing participants in these just-centred events. Look at that 3 wide on the exit of that long sweeping right-hander. And it turns 10 and 11, which leads onto the back straight, and then you've got another even longer sweeping right-hander that leads you back onto the main straightaway. And it's Mitchell McLeod who's under some pressure there from Matt Lupino.
Brock Feeney just in behind Christina Nazarick, make that alongside her, and on the brakes up into turn 1. Naturally a very defensive line if you're a single file, but side by side, he gets into her on the exit. A lot of wheel work to keep that car straight. Nazarick still ploughing through the grass. Now gets it back on the black stuff and is starting to tumble down the sawdust a little bit.
Caleb Hines is doing a good job here.
Yeah.
Young gun who we've seen has done a fair bit of time in these Mazda MX-5s, so pretty experienced when he comes to driving these race cars, and he's keeping the pressure right on Job Stewart at the moment. Mitch Martin next ahead of Jeff Rahali. Blake Purdy's up 5 spots since the start of this race, from 5th position on the grid up into 10th spot. And this is where you see the slipstreaming starting to come into it. Caleb Hines attacking on the back of Job Stewart, who is the most capped driver in the Just Centred series.
Caleb's part of a small army of young fellas that have been working with Jackson Harlow, and he's been helping them quite a bit, and I think is no coincidence that a lot of them, Kobe Williams being another one, whose pace has seen a massive uptick, as now he's caught in an awkward predicament, because that's a car that came out of pit lane, put himself right in the thick of the action. That's Harvey Price, and he's hit both of them, but thankfully neither of them result in a spin. It does extend, though, the margin between Stewart and Hyde. He drops back to about 7 to 6 car lengths. 7 or 8 car lengths, even.
Yeah, Harvey Price probably needs to get out of the way a bit there. It's not great form if you've just come out of the pits and you're a lap down to start dicing it up with the race leaders. So he'd be well served just to sidestep those leading cars at the moment, as we've got Cooper Allen having a crash. Was he trying to come into the pits or come out of the pits? Pick up the Just Centred replay here. And he's done that. Is that a pit entry? I think he's rotated it. So
yeah.
Bit of an awkward moment there for Cooper Allen, who is actually in now for his 2nd pit stop of the race. So not been a fantastic race for him so far. Speaking of pit stops, everybody from 25th position down has already taken a pit stop, and we're not even 6 minutes into this race yet, so lots of early pit stops happening. Those drivers will be hoping that there's a safety car to help them when it comes to strategy.
I think you'll find a lot of those are probably due to the lap 1 chaos throughout the field. A lot of them had to come in and get a fast repair. Now, remember that margin had opened up between Stewart and Hyde? Well, Hyde has shut it straight back down again. So it looks like he may actually have the pace over Job at the moment, certainly in these early phases of the race, as we're on lap 6 at the moment, about 7 or so minutes in to the event. They will want to start eyeing off.
Here comes Caleb Hines, got a very good exit from the last corner, looks down the inside of Job Stewart into turn 1.
Random safety car number, and one of them comes.
Not able to get the job done there because Job Stewart covers him off, but it was fastest lap of the race last time around for Caleb Hines, 1 minute 4.2, 3/10 of a second quicker than our race leader Job Stewart. One of the big factors tonight, Ryan, is going to be the lap's traffic, because it's such a short lap. As we've talked about, people who come in for a pit stop, you just about go down a lap having taken that stop, and we've already seen some of those drivers taking early pit stops getting mixed up with the race leaders as Caleb hides a bit of Morse code on the rear bumper of Job Stewart just to let him know that he's there. And Job Stewart into the pits.
Yeah, there you go. Into pit lane. Tricky pit lane because there's the grass. It's so narrow. It's barely a car's width wide as you dive onto the brakes from top speed and these MX-5s. Make a little mistake, drop half a car off the racetrack, and, well, run half a car wide and you end up off the racetrack in the grass. Stewart did a good job to gather it up. He did exactly that. And they comes in with... Who was that? He put it behind him.
Blake Purdy. So Blake Purdy in as well, just behind Job Stewart. It'll be interesting to see how long those pit stops take as we ride on board with Brock Feeney, the Dunlop Super 2 Series competitor, Super 3 champion from last year. And as you mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Ryan, Endurance co-driver for James Courtney this season.
That's a fast rise, isn't it? Last year, Super 3 champion. This year, co-driving in the biggest races in the country.
Loving the livery on Brock Feeney's car as well. The aqua colour scheme with the flame paint job looking very, very flash.
Reminds me of SVG's livery he seems to run a lot, which is a green and a blue, I think. Green and yellow, potentially. Either way, it's pretty bright like his. Neither of them feeling any need to endorse any real-life sponsors. They're here to have fun, and that's exactly what he's doing right now. After starting this one from 18th, they're already up 9 spots. Or 11 spots, even.
Caleb Hyde's in for a pit stop now as well.
Had to respond.
His car was being jacked up. I reckon he's made a bit of a mistake, Caleb Hyde's, and taken tyres during that pit stop, which is not ideal because Theory comes out of the pits now, but Job Stewart is already long gone, so that's a net loss of time and position there for Caleb Hyde's.
So he's going to be preying on a safety car. Oh. Safety car's out, fellas.
And right on cue, out comes the safety car. So Caleb Hyde's prayers have been answered. And the drivers who have not come into the pits yet, Mitch Martin, Mitchell McLeod, Logan Dockett, Brock Feeney, Matt Morris, Jordan Sinney, Jackson Johnson, Jack Lemon, Andy Carey, Harrison Dengate, and a couple of the others who haven't pitted. They're all going to be left high and dry by this safety car intervention because they're going to get trapped behind the safety car, and it's going to give a big advantage to all of the people who've already done a pit stop.
Certainly will. That's one of those fluke scenarios, isn't it? Where you call something out right as it happens. Now, for these drivers, so guys like Caleb Hyde, he'll be very thankful for this because it means there's no opportunity for him to lose any more spots on the racetrack. But as you mentioned, those half a dozen so drivers that stayed out are going to be in struggle street. They're going to be hoping that we have more than one safety car intervention tonight, which is very possible. I believe it's up to 3 we can have.
So, interestingly enough, Caleb Hyde's not only did he lose a lot of time to Job Stewart, but he also lost positions to Dylan Golston and Jeff Rahali as well. And so quite a slow pit stop there for Caleb Hyde's, and he will be effectively 4th in the race once we get a resumption of play. And look at this, the dive to pit lane and a crash just about on the way in. In fact, that was Lachlan Maneve trying to unlap himself.
As they came in.
As everybody came into the pit, so almost getting tangled up with the cars that had dived for pit entry.
I think that was Feeney. It was, and looking at his car, it looks fine, so not much damage. Maybe a little tinker on the right front, and he's in fact taken his fast repair down on pit road, so that won't affect him at all. Back on the racetrack, and seeing a couple people are taking tyres, strategically or not. Can be
so
hard.
Here's a replay. Bang! That was Lachlan Maneve. He dived to the inside because he needed to go around the safety car, but of course, once he dives to the right-hand side there, all of the cars that needed to come into the pits were simultaneously aiming for that part of the track. So here's Manaf, he's flying up. All of a sudden, he sees cars swinging across in front of him. I'll tell you what, that was pretty lucky there, Ryan, because that could have been a serious accident.
It could have been, and those guys coming into the pits probably not paying so much attention to what's behind them either because, well, you're not expecting someone to come flying up and pass you. But also, they're trying to fiddle with their settings and make sure they're not going to take tyres, they're taking just the right amount of fuel, and all those sorts of things as well. Untick or tick your fast repair, depending on if you want to take it or not. Which is why sometimes we see drivers taking the wrong options down on pit road. Now, interesting here, Lockie, Mitch Martin is actually our race leader. Now, don't believe he's pitted yet.
He hasn't.
He hasn't, and he'll restart in front of Job Stewart.
And so Mitch Martin, the former Formula Ford and Formula V racer, at the head of the queue, just ahead of Job Stewart. He actually had pretty decent pace, Mitch Martin. So I think he'll be able to battle it out with the leaders once the safety car peels in, but he is one driver who absolutely needs there to be another safety car at some point, otherwise his strategy is blown completely. Oh, slow restart from Mitch Martin, and that has spread-eagled the field. Martin has been swamped. Stewart goes back to the lead. Look at the number of positions that Mitch Martin has lost there by the time they get to turn one.
Back down to 6th place. Now, interesting, he waited a long time to go, and then as Stewart went to pass him, he actually jumped on the brake pedal, and oh no, turned around. Jeff Rahali gets into Caleb Hyde. Mitch Martin's got a piece of it as well. Now they're 4 wide, and that doesn't work out. Someone else is in defence.
James Golding in the Tinder car had to swipe left very, very rapidly there to avoid getting caught up in that one. That was some brilliant evasive action from James Golding. We'll check out a replay. This is looking a bit further down the field at Ben Bargwana in the Valvoline car, getting tagged and sent hard into the fence.
Oh, the Tinder car's in the fence again. That must be Golding. Off the exit of onto the back straight, there was a big crash. In fact, there still is a big crash, and it was James Golding. Not a great lap for him. So Mitch Martin, he actually jumped on the brakes again before the start-finish line as everyone started to pass him, which did a lot to help his cause to go down the order, curiously.
It's good battles happening. So this is Christina Nazarick, I believe, and Jordan Mulak as well. So they're battling a bit further back in the pack for positions 9 and 10. Christina Nazarick there in the 000 car being passed by Jordan Mulak. What livery's Jordan Mulak running this week? We know that he loves to get creative with his liveries. Looks like he's running a camouflage livery on his Mazda MX-5. Yeah.
For 2015 testing livery, I think, or 2016 or 17 or 14, maybe 18. It's one of those 5 years. As Mitchell McLeod has gone for the big dive and has got it all wrong down at the last corner. That was just behind Nazarick. And oh no, it's caused even more carnage down the main straight. No way they saved. Now they didn't save it.
We had a feeling, didn't we?
In fact, Jack Lemon. Wow.
Yeah, these Mazda MX-5s on such a narrow racetrack, we had a feeling that there was going to be a bit of damage, and that is Mitchell McLeod off at the last turn.
And it resulted in a crash that ended halfway down the main straight.
Never a good thing when you get crashes that are happening in a straight section of the road, because generally it means that you've got cars approaching at high speed. Lachlan Manaf, he's had a pretty rough night so far, and he's off the racetrack. Here's our race leader, Job Stewart. Behind him, Blake Purdy, Caleb Hines, Matt Lupino, and Glenn Postlethwaite all battling over position.
Purdy's taken the spot.
He has. Postlethwaite, of course, was our pole sitter earlier on, but got caught up in an incident on the first lap and nose-to-tail contact with Blake Purdy and Dylan Golson. Here comes Caleb Hines to the outside.
If ever there's a tank slapper.
Wow, how on earth has Blake Purdy held onto that? Look at Dylan Golson, aggressive on the back. Purdy defensive. Caleb Hyde's up the inside of Dylan Golson. This scrap continues, and while these drivers are all battling one another, Matt Lupino's in there as well. It is allowing Job Stewart to disappear down the road. His lead is now out to almost 3 seconds.
Purdy had just made that move on Golson, and then he moved across down the straight to try and cover him off. But Golson still had a bit of an overlap, which caused that massive moment for Purdy. And then, obviously, Caleb Hyde tried to capitalise, couldn't quite do it, and it closed Lupino up as well. So this is golden in the eyes of Job Stewart. Mitchell McLeod, wow. Getting himself right in the middle of this. Oh no, car! Middle of the final corner. Caleb Hyde with big damage.
And conveniently enough for Caleb Hyde, that accident happened right on pit entry, but that is Caleb Hyde's chances of a result over and out, because he's going to have to come in for a pit stop to get that damage repaired. So seriously unlucky there for Caleb Hyde's T-boning the car of Mitchell McLeod, which was parked perpendicular to the racing line.
It wasn't Mitchell. Mitchell came up before the final corner. It was someone else that was stuck across the racetrack.
I don't know. Either way, huge damage. Huge damage for Caleb Hyde, unfortunately. And the pit stop has dropped him all the way down at the 22nd position.
And good news for him, if there is some, is he's had his black flags cleared, because obviously he got served a black flag for an unsafe entry. Dived in very late on. But he had no choice.
So Job Stewart now with the lead of almost 5 seconds over Blake Purdy, who's still under pressure from Dylan Golson. Glenn Postlethwaite up the inside. Golson closes the door. Postlethwaite carrying some serious speed at the moment on board the number 95 car.
Oh, that wasn't going to work out. He went for the late look into the hairpin, but the way the track slithers its way into that section, just couldn't ever get himself into the right place. But you see there how much nicer his car looks through the corner. Golson using up too much of the racetrack and having to really wash off the speed when he should be getting on the power. Like right there at the hairpin, goes in too deep, and that allows Postlethwaite to slip up the inside. But it's a drag race now, down to the final corner. But it's the inside for Postlethwaite, so we should get this one done, as long as Golson isn't extremely brave out on the outside. And he can't do it. Postlethwaite will take that away. For now. You'll have to try again.
And what this is doing is it's allowing Blake Purdy to pull away. Here we go. Postlethwaite going for a very ambitious move to the outside. And trying to carry a bit of extra mid-corner speed there, as we see Jordan Mulak getting run out high and wide by Christina Nazarick. That battle's been going on for a while. Geordie Sinney and Josh Hayes just ahead of those two as well. So that's the battle for positions 7 down to 10.
Sinai's got plenty of pace. He was on pole for split 2 of the Scott series at Mosport a couple weeks back. Job Stewart's lead is now at the line. What is it? 5 seconds? Still 5 seconds to Purdy. 6 seconds over Golson. He's hoping this one's going to stay green to the end. Everyone else is hoping the opposite.
It would take something catastrophic for him to lose the race from here, Job Stewart. Here's Mitch Martin, who incidentally is still yet to take his pit stop, currently running in 5th position, making up some spots after that very slow restart after the safety car, but won't be able to make it home on fuel. He will have to come in for a pit stop at some point. I think that what you need to do now, if you're Mitch Martin, is probably hang out there for a while and hope that there's another safety car at some point.
Well, if a safety car comes for Mitch, he would want to have pitted again, wouldn't he?
Well, actually, yeah, that's true as well.
He wouldn't want to survive 2 safety cars, that pity. At least if there's another one, he'll have the benefit of getting that free kick back
Oh.
up to the field. As of right now, big disadvantage for him.
Big disadvantage for Josh Haynes dropping his wheels off the racetrack as well. That goes to show why you can't really afford to be dropping left rear wheels over the edge of those curbs into the grass, because if you do,
there's no
you'll
grip.
just flick your car into a spin. Exactly.
Uh, 2/10 quicker last time by for Blake Purdy. 105.0, plays a 105.2, so he's starting to reel him in. As we get further into this green flag run, Golston on the 10th away, Postlethwaite about the same. What Martin is doing now is he's staying clear of most of the drama in the mid-pack. So, for example, 30 seconds down the road is still inside the top 20 right now. Just the way the compression works when you stack everyone up. The further down you go, the slower you have to go to get through the corners. Something like that.
Few people that I've noticed coming in for extra pit stops. So James Golding has taken 3 pit stops. I think he's probably out of the race altogether at this point. Brock Feeney's had to come in for another stop, and we've got a second safety car. So there we go. Our second safety car intervention of the race has been called. And Mitch Martin did not get in for his pit stop. So for the second time, he's going to get trapped by the safety car and stuck out on the circuit, having not taken his stop.
How long we got left? 15-ish minutes? I can't see the exact number. But we're going to have a sprint to the end, as there's a lot of awkwardness happening, and Job Stewart, wow, was facing 90 degrees to the track, courtesy of Blake Purdy, into his right side door through the hairpin. Under caution.
Oh. So Blake Purdy was obviously pushing on to catch up to the back of Job Stewart behind the safety car, but the thing that made that situation even more awkward, Brian, was the fact that there were a couple of lapped cars in there as well. So the big question is, has that done damage to either one of those 2 cars?
Doubt it. Certainly not Stewart's. His the front right of his car could certainly have seen better days, but Purdy's car looks alright. A little bit of a crease in the front. Should be fine. If anything, it'll slow him down by a 10th or 2, and it'll bring Golson Postlethwaite into the mix. Martin still got to come into pit lane. Jordy Sinai up into 6th place. Matt Lapino. Who else we got? Kristen Nazarick, Jordan Mulak, and Michael Yip. That's your top 10.
Hang on, what is going on here? Why have we got our leaders driving off the racetrack?
Because it's fun.
Right. Yeah, okay. Possibly they're just trying to get out of the way of the lapped cars that are getting the wave around. That might have something to do with it as well, because there are quite a few lapped cars that have to get around the safety car to try and get back onto the lead lap. As this time, it looks like Mitch Martin is going to come in. It looks there like Job Stewart was feinting a pit entry as well. So
Just to the Nazarick.
Markers coming through.
Why has Nazarick come in? That seems like a bit of a misplay. Not seeing much damage on her car. Certainly nothing that should warrant a fast repair being taken. So Nazarick comes to pit lane and joins Martin down there. And those 2 will have to go right from the back on this next restart. I briefly entertained the thought in my head of driving in the grass was cooling the tyres down, but I'm not sure you want to cool your tyres down.
And
or if it
if you
even
did,
works.
I'm sure there'd be safer ways of doing it than that.
Yes. But then you have to ask yourself, Justin, what's your name? Lachlan.
Justin, eh? That's a new one.
You have to
I
ask
get
yourself,
called a
is
lot of
it...
things, but Justin,
Ladies' man?
Justin, you were...
You have to ask yourself, is it in the spirit of Just Send It? Driving through
To
the
drive
grass,
on
I
the
think,
grass,
certainly is.
well, I think pretty much everything else is in the spirit of Just Send It.
I think they would have last week if they could find any grass. Over at Belle Isle. Or I think I saw that Van Gisbergen actually ended up winning that race.
He did. It was good to see SVG back in Just Send It last week. So, Job Stewart, your race leader at the moment, ahead of Blake Purdy, Dylan Golson, Glenn Postlethwaite fourth, Jordan Sinney in position 5. Safety car peels into pit lane. We're set for a restart with 12 minutes remaining on the clock. Job Stewart had opened up a 5-second lead, but that's now evaporated. But it is up to Job Stewart to control the pace of the restart, and he's not doing the slow restart like we saw from Mitch Martin. He's got his foot to the floor straight away, but Purdy goes with him. Purdy looking to the outside at turn 1. Golson to the inside along with Postlethwaite and Jordan Sinney, a good restart too, but Matt Lupino also making pretty handy work of the getaway there.
Caleb Hydes is still in the fringes of the top 10 here. He's not that far away, as they are all nose to tail through turn 4. A tail wag from Golson allows Postlethwaite up the inside at 5.
Yeah, watch
Good
out for
top
Glenn
two.
Postlethwaite because we know that he's got good pace.
Golson's just overcooking it through the corners, isn't he? He's run wide again. That's allowed Shorty Sinai to go by him.
So speaking of cold tyres, maybe Dylan Golson cooled his tyres down a bit too much there during that safety car intervention.
Remember, Purdy was lapping a little bit quicker right at the end of that run before the safety car came out. Now
Here
he
it
wants
comes.
to show it with the move up the inside. Does he go around the outside, Stewart, to defend? Does he go for the crossover? Tries to hang it the long way around, but he can't do it. So Purdy takes away the race lead. And now Postlethwaite certainly has a dog in this fight. He's right there in third, looking for a way through.
And out of these 3 drivers, Blake Purdy, Job Stewart, Glenn Postlethwaite, Postlethwaite, the only one of the 3 of them who's never won a race in Just Send It before. He'd love to break through tonight.
Neither is the 4th place man, Jordy Sinai. Maybe not even Dylan Golson in 5th, as Stewart runs a little bit wide through the hairpin. Every mistake he makes hurts everyone behind him, as Postlethwaite's trying to get the side draft or get the slipstream. Down the back straight, hunting for a way through into the last corner. A long, sweeping, never-ending right-hander. Careful with your throttle application, because you'll slide on the exit as Stewart gets the a poor run, but wow, Postlethwaite is on the outside of the racetrack. I don't think you wanted to be there. Either way, Stewart overcooks it, and Postlethwaite slips by.
Mistake there, wasn't it, from Job Stewart, and Jordan Sinney well placed there as well, but gets a tap from behind from Dylan Golson. That sends Jordy Sinney's car sideways, and he does a good job to save that. Jordan Sinney, excellent car control there to hold on to it, but loses the spot to Dylan Golson. And like you said, Ryan, watch out for Caleb Hydes, because he restarted this race from outside the top 10, but he's already moved back up to 7th. He holds the fastest lap of the race to Caleb Hydes, so we know that he's got pace to burn, and he's working hard to fight his way back up the order.
Side by side, Lupino and Golson right in front of him, as he actually drops 2 tyres in the grass down the back straight there. And now Golson's got half a car length ahead, but again, he's just not got any grip through the corners. He does seem to really be struggling now as Hydes forces his nose up the inside, and will take away that spot down at turn 1. And Lupino will be next on his hit list, I do imagine.
Oh, will he though? Because very, very deep under brakes on the outside goes Dylan Golson. He'll try and hang tough around the outside. He's going to make Caleb Hydes work for this position. They will fight door to door up through the next couple of turns, and Golson just manages to hold on to that position.
Hyde's been pretty annoyed about that. That's about the first time since the restart Golson's got through a corner quickly.
So Caleb Hydes will have to just bide his time and wait for another few corners before he can set up an overtaking manoeuvre. And you're right, Dylan Golson, since the safety car restart, has become a bit of a cork in the bottle here. He's not shown the pace that he had in the previous stint.
Tell the Antich, Job's teammate for Pursuit Sim Racing, just pointed something out actually. That crash under the caution probably, maybe, looks like it might have affected his straight line speed.
Yeah, I reckon you might be right, because we're right on board, and you can see that it might be a bit of bent steering as well.
Oh my goodness, Dylan Golson! How'd he end up there? I heard a smash and a bash in the background, and suddenly Golson was flying across the racetrack.
I wonder if he's had contacts with Caleb Hydes. We know that those two cars were battling. Matt Lupino was the one ahead. Let's have a look. Oh, he's gone up the inside. He's got it all crossed up. And he's done it all on his own.
Almost took out Stewart.
Almost took out Stewart. Almost took out Hydes. Almost hit the wall, but somehow managed to avoid doing all three of those things.
And that battle he exited is still ferocious. So his contact between Hydes and Lupino exiting turn 4. And Doggett has got by Hydes. Mulak has been slipping and sliding. In fact, I think Hydes might have a slowdown because he's very slow down the straight.
And that's affected Jordan Mulak as well. Michael Yip now fights his way into the action and gives Mulak a bit of an unsettling tap in the rear bumper coming onto the straight. So pretty much all the way down the top 10 there's battles as Yip will be yipping with joy with that successful manoeuvre up the inside of Jordan Mulak.
That was bad. Dylan Golson, again, has found his way back into this battle. And ahead of Jordan Mulak. He's not done with yet. Hydes and Doggett still scrapping. Hydes very quickly running out of room on the outside. Very fast through the first and second sector, but then watch this again on the back straight. We'll see whether it was a slowdown that he somehow picked up or engine damage, because he was very slow at the end of the straight. I'll tell you who isn't slow, Doggett. Look at the run he's got on Lupino. Lupino drives him all the way down to the inside, and Doggett has to look on the outside. And make a bit of contact. That pushes Lupino wide, and Doggett gets to the inside now. Great crossover move. But here comes Hydes. He's got the run as well. Where does he go? He goes to the inside. 3 wide down to turn 1. Up the hill. On the brakes. Golson sliding behind them again. Doggett takes it away, and Hydes slides his way ahead of Lupino as well. Well, I saw that coming from a mile off, Lockie. That just looked messy for a few laps there, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's been an entertaining squabble to watch, that's for sure. While you've been focusing on the on-track action, I've just been going back through some stats, which we'll come to shortly as we see Matt Lupino copping some serves. Oh. Poor Matt Lupino. You have to feel for him because he's done a good job to work his way up into the top 10. But Logan Doggett, he's been a bit of a man on a mission lately too, hasn't he? He's worked his way up into the top 5.
What about the top 2? Because they are pretty much side by side.
So you've got Blake Purdy. You have to go all the way back to Season 2, Week 3 to find the last time that Blake Purdy had a just send it race win. So it's been a long time out of the winner's circle for Blake Purdy. He does, however, have 3 wins to his credit in the Just Send It series. Glenn Postlethwaite, on the other hand, his best race result, 2nd. What car was that in? The Mazda MX-5, but he'd dearly love to go one better tonight.
Where was it? You don't know, do you? You got every other stat on hand, but not where it was.
Catalunya, I'm pretty sure.
There you go.
I believe so. Season 1, Catalunya.
That might be a track we need to go back to soon, as Postlethwaite looking not close enough. Going to set himself up for the exit here. He's going to run it out wide and then turn it down and get the power on very early. Gives him a monumental run. But Purdy's awake to it, and he covers him.
Oh, we've got a grandstand finish on our hands now, Ryan. couple of feisty MX-5 pilots battling it out for the race win. We've had a bit of chaos. We've had plenty of incidents in the background, but we're going to finish it off tonight in this final 3 minutes with a good old-fashioned dogfight for the race win. Look at how defensively Blake Purdy's having to drive it, parking it on the apex of every corner to try and avoid the possibility of Glenn Postlethwaite having a run at him, and Postlethwaite not going to be patient and sit back, applying massive blowtorch pressure to the rear of Blake Purdy.
There is all sorts of, I don't know how to describe it, happening behind them between Stuart Martin and Dockett. They were 3 wide coming out of turn 5. They're 3 wide coming out of the hairpin. And this is another one of those areas where I don't think this is going to end well. Oh my goodness.
How about Mitch Martin? Even despite that suboptimal strategy, he's worked his way back up to 4th position. No,
don't go off, Mitch. He saves it. Good job. Dockett too.
Some great saves there. Poor Job Stewart. He's getting his ears boxed left, right and centre at the moment. Really struggling with the handling of that car, but gets into the side of Mitch Martin at turn 1. Caleb Hines caught on the outside there with nowhere to go. Other interesting thing here is that Jordan Sinney has been lapping more quickly than both of our race leaders, Purdy and Postlethwaite, and is now only a second and a half off the lead of the motor race. I think he'll probably run out of time, Jordan Sinney, to challenge for the win, but if these two slip up or trip over one another in fighting for the win, then every chance that Jordan Sinney could be well placed to capitalise.
Sinai, I'm sure one of us is saying his name right. As we are heading on to the final lap now, I believe. As I'm watching one eye at the front, one eye on that battle behind. They were beating and banging down the straight. Is it the white flag?
Yes, it is. So last lap coming up here. Postlethwaite running out of opportunities. A mistake from Blake Purdy under brakes. You could say the rear end twitching sideways through turn number 1, just stepping out. Look at Job Stewart still fighting for dear life over what will be position 6 in the motor race. And Postlethwaite wants to bump. Can he get up the inside? They're door to door. Neither one of them wants to give in. And somehow Blake Purdy still manages to hold on to it. It was serious contacts between them.
Chrome horns out.
Postlethwaite, can he get up the inside here? They'll run side by side, but he'll be on the wrong side of the road for the next right-hander. And once again, Blake Purdy beautifully slows it up at the apex of the corner to stop Postlethwaite being able to do the over and under. 1 corner left to run, and provided Purdy gets this right, he should have this. Does Postlethwaite have a dive? He thinks about it, but Purdy covers to the inside. It will be a drag race to the finish line. And after a couple of seasons out of the winner's circle, Blake Purdy is going to return to the top of the podium in style. He wins Week 8, Season 4 in an epic finish for the Just Send It series here at the Tsukuba circuit. Dylan Golson somehow managing to finish up in 3rd. So Jordan Sinney, very slow
10
on the last lap.
He ran out of fuel. No, even with 2 safety cars. Oh, what a shame. That would have been his best run and Just Send It today. But looks like he coughed coming out of the hairpin. Yep, he did. What a shame for him. What a battle, though. A good, clean-ish battle between our top 2, Purdy and Postlethwaite, right to the end. Postlethwaite threw it into that last corner, trying to get to the bumper of Purdy, like NASCAR-style short trap. Just trying to get anything to him to unsettle him and unload him, but Purdy just had enough up his sleeve.
So here's a recap of your top 10 positions, and only 10 seconds separating the top 10 at the end as well. It was a very, very close race tonight. Purdy from Postlethwaite, Golson fighting his way onto the podium in the end, ahead of Mitch Martin. Job Stewart with that damage limping home in 5th position, ahead of Caleb Hines, who had an up-and-down race tonight. Logan Dockett in 7th, the ever-consistent Jordan Mulak in 8th position, and then Harrison Dengate and the out-of-fuel Jordan Sinney rounding out the top 10.
Michael Yip coming home in 11th, had a Jonathan Bykoff 46th to 12th, Peter Taylor 44th to 13th, Ben Barguana 32nd to 14th, Harvey Price 45th to 15th. Daniel Hall 47th to 16th. Michael Bulliman 51st to 17th. Matt Morris, Jackson Griffith 43rd, 19th, and Christina Nazarek 20th.
Some big drives up through the field tonight, no doubt about that. But also, as we look a bit further back in the pack, quite a few retirements and drivers who came to grief tonight as well.
Yeah. About probably over half the field cops a retirement from this one.
Lots of damage, that's for sure. And unfortunately, some quite high-profile drivers not making it to the finish, including Brock Feeney and James Golding, both having issues during the race. But nevertheless, that was highly entertaining from the Just Send It crew in their Mazda MX-5s at Tsukuba. And we'll be back to do it all again next week for what will be week 9 for season 4 of the Just Send It iRacing series. Thanks to my co-commentator Ryan Jones. Thanks to our producer Jay Kennedy in the background. You've been watching all of the action right here on the SimSpeed TV network. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Lockie Mansell. See you next time. Bye for now.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no.
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?